Welcome back to What's Not Sports. We're here for another episode of Pulse Check. It's episode 63. We've got NRL. We've just had Vegas for the start of round one. We're now heading into the rest of round one back in Australia. Huge lineup this weekend. A couple I want to say star-studded games because there are some good games lined up. I'm actually picking a couple roughies because it's a new season, new teams, new coaching staff. There's a lot of changes in the NRL. So we're going to pick apart Vegas a little bit. I actually haven't really watched the games other than a few highlights because as a lot of clubbies, if you're watching this, we would have all been at States while that was going on. But I got a few notes from what I have seen, what I have heard, what I have looked into about Vegas. We'll go through the game results. We'll then go through the preview of the rest of the round coming up this weekend, have some thoughts, and then we're going to have a little bit of talk about the milk. So if you aren't a Raiders fan or if you don't want to hear Raiders chat, you can hop off there. But as I say, I am a huge Raiders fan. I love chatting Raiders, and why can't I chat it on my own podcast? Well, I can. As well as we're going to talk about a few other things that's happening in the world of NRL. And then we're just going to touch a little bit on states because Queensland, all the state titles in surf life saving happened over the weekend for the seniors. There's a few things I want to talk about, not quite the results, but more on a few other things, but we'll wait for that. But let's kick us off with the league loop. Let's talk about Vegas. Vegas had its biggest turnout this year. As we see, it keeps growing every single year. This is now the third year. There has been a lot of comments on disappointing reffing, and from what I have seen and some of the calls made, I 100% agree that some of the reffing is disappointing. We need to show consistency in the sport. I understand the fact that you won't want to maybe sin bin someone or penalise someone at Vegas under the big lights, all of that. I do understand that. But where do we draw the line? That is my question. Because do we draw the line? Are you going to turn around for the rest of round one? And if there's contact, very similar to the Vegas ones we have seen on head high, charging out of the line, all of that, contact on the head, is there going to be sin bins? What's going to happen there? That's my big question on that. I just want to know how consistency is going to work. But let's look on the bright side. I don't want to talk too negative about that. It was the biggest weekend yet. The future of the NRL in America, it's looking like, as it keeps growing, more and more people are showing up for it. It looks like it is going to grow the sport internationally, and potentially next season we see that international round, which would be very, very exciting in my opinion. But let's jump in. It was the Knights versus Cowboys at Vegas, as well as the Dogs versus Dragons. Had the Cowboys tipped and I had the Dogs tipped. Knights versus Cowboys, as we said, a lot of potentially wrong calls made by the ref. Definitely the call on out, if you know what I'm talking about. But both these games are very exciting. As I said, disappointing reffing. I really want to point out Trey Mooney. I know Kalen Ponga had a great game and he really got everyone fired up, but Trey Mooney had a huge impact. It's a huge win for the Knights having him there, obviously paying off. Him playing, what a weapon. But yeah, Kalen Ponga had a really good game, and that I feel like that unlocked quite a few other players around him as he started to get going. Bradman Best started to get going. From what I saw, Fletcher Sharp had a great 20 minutes before he went off injured. But that's what I have on that. I was actually quite surprised with the Knights winning this one. I thought the Cowboys were set on it, but obviously didn't quite get that one. Now, the Dogs versus Dragons, Golden Point in Vegas. I actually don't think there could have been a more exciting way to, finish off. Well, it was the last game at Vegas. It's a pretty cool way, Golden Point. to go. You get extra game time, more footage, more footy in Vegas, if you know what I mean by that. I think it's just something really cool, something special. Obviously, every time there is extra time or Golden Point, it is just so cool to watch. Obviously, a couple wrong calls with the ref, the strip. I don't know your thoughts on it, guys, but I don't think it was a strip, and I don't think that was the right call. But in saying that, I don't think the NRL could offer a product better to finish off the Vegas round with Golden Point. That, I think that really just is a cherry on top. But yeah, 15-14 the Dogs. The Dogs are looking real strong. And honestly, a great performance by the Dragons. Shane Flanagan will be happy with that performance, considering what he said earlier in the week, saying that he's not expecting his team to win the comp. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. As a player, you never want to hear those words, even if you know it's true. Like, for example, I'm going to talk about the Raiders a lot, but I'm going to use this as an example. They were tipped for the wooden spoon last year. Players on the record have said Ricky is a man motivator. He honestly sells the dream so well to the players and is so motivational that, from what I've heard, every season that they think that they're going into, they honestly believe they belong in the top four. And I think that's what a coach should be doing, not going on national TV going, yeah, we're in a rebuilding stage, yeah, cool, but we're not going to win the comp this year. That is not what you want to hear as a Dragons fan or as a Dragons player. I think that's absolutely kills the game, hearing that. And honestly, because every team wants to win, and every team should think that they have the capabilities of winning. So it is disappointing to hear that from an NRL coach, but nonetheless, he should be happy with the Dragons' performance, even though they did lose. Now, before we jump into the rest of round one, let's talk a little bit about NRL news that's going on at the moment. Let's kick off with Lomax. So, we know Lomax wanted a release from Parramatta Eels so he could go play R360. R360 has now been set back to late 2028 instead of 2026. There was thoughts it would get kicked back to 2027, but it's actually been kicked back 2 years. So Lomax has then tried to rejoin the NRL, which he is allowed to do if he was to go back to Parramatta. In his clauses, it was he couldn't sign with a different NRL club other than Parramatta. Excuse me. Until the end of 2028. Lomax wanted to go to the Storm. Parramatta and the Storm and Lomax's lawyers have all been going back and forth on everything. It's then gone to the Supreme Court. Here is what the ruling is. So, in the 11th hour, Storm and Eels, they couldn't come to an agreement, so they agreed to disagree. And now, basically, Lomax got lucky here, in all honesty. So the Storm, I believe, are paying the legal fees for Parramatta for the whole thing, which is fair because there is a big stuff around for Parramatta. Lomax is entitled to come back to the NRL and play for Parramatta if he wishes. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to come back to the NRL. But if Lomax wishes to return to the NRL, he must play for the Eels until the end of 2027, and then October 31st, he is released from the club and then can go join another club. Now, originally it was October 31st of 2028, I believe. So right there, I'm kind of going, he gets off a little bit easier. He gets a year. So he must play at the Eels there. Or, similar to what we know, there must be a written agreement or a contract or whatever for the release of Lomax to join another club in the NRL. but they will obviously want to have fair compensation if he gets transferred to another club, potentially a better player or extra money, whatever happens. So the question is, will we see Lomax back in the NRL? Will we see him this year? Will we see him next year? Will we ever see him again? That is the question to be. Let's see. Let's watch this space closely because I'm actually quite interested in this whole Lomax saga. Where he goes, does he go to rugby union? Do we see that happen? Does he go to rugby sevens? Who knows? Because now, does he come back to NRL? There's so many possibilities, or does he just take time off? It'll be interesting to see. In other news, the NRL, they're trying to make a bid for Origin for the 2032 Olympic Games. I saw this yesterday, I believe, and I think that's absolutely awesome. Because I believe this is in spite of the AFL putting in a bid for the Olympics as well. But Origin, if I remember correctly, is the most watched sporting event each year in Australia. Now imagine it in the Olympics. Imagine that expedition. That would be incredible. The whole world will have their eyes on the pinnacle of rugby league. That would be awesome because I just love rugby league. I want the game to grow. Same thing similarly, surf lifesaving. Obviously want surf lifesaving in the Olympics. Hopefully their bid gets through. Who knows what's happening there. But yeah, the Olympics gets... If your sport is in the Olympics, it gets huge. But I just think having Origin in the Olympics is insane and will be incredible. Let's watch this space as well. I'd love to be there. I would love to watch it. It would just be so sick. Right, last thing for, I guess, NRL news that I've got. Oh yes, Rivals. If you haven't heard of it, Rivals it's a pretty cool concept. It's a new TV show that's just dropped, and it's about finding out what code is the best. NRL, Rugby Union, or AFL. Or Rugby League, Rugby Union, and Aussie rules. It's a pretty cool concept. We have seen, it's run by Rexona. We have seen something similar, but also quite different in I think it was called The Greatest Athlete or something like that. Rexona's Greatest Athlete, and it had an individual from cricket, surf lifesaving, Shannon Eckstein. I'm pretty sure came second. Rugby league, Billy Slater won that year. Bit of speculation on why he won it. Was it because of Rexona being his sponsor? But let's not go into that. But it's something a bit similar. But you're actually in teams of 4, 2 guys, 2 girls. It's pretty cool. For example, the NRL. It's got Reece Walsh, Josh Adokar, huge personalities in the sport, big egos, big personalities, interesting to watch. Obviously, high-profile players, Ali Brigishaw and Jamie Chapman. Obviously incredible players, big profiles on them. Really interesting. It tests the physical strength. It's something you should check out if you're interested. I would love to talk to people about it. Such a cool concept. The first episode dropped on Sunday night. Comes out every Sunday night for the next few weeks. And yeah, it's just pretty cool on Fox and KO. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Now, let's dive into the rest of round 1. Go through who we've got, why I've got them, and yeah, let's do it. We've got the Storm versus Eels, Warriors versus Roosters, Broncos versus Panthers, huge game there, Sharks versus Titans, Manly versus Canberra, and the Dolphins versus the Rabbitohs. I honestly think all of these games will be incredible. They could almost all be blockbuster games. Well, maybe not all of them. I think the top lineup for this weekend will be Broncos Panthers. Always awesome clash when they're there, when they play each other. Dolphins versus Rabbitohs. I think that'll be an awesome clash. Honestly, half the game, Sharks vs Titans could be a great game. Well, I think it will be. And Storm versus Eels, especially with the whole Lomax debacle going down, this could be a very interesting game. But let's go through my tip. So for the Storm versus Eels game, I'm picking the Storm just because they're just the team to beat, almost always. A pretty unchanged side, in all honesty. What did I see? We always knew there would have to be a shift. A shift with no Ryan Pappenhausen, with him retiring. So we have a bit of a shift. Like Nick Meaney now goes to the wing. Suafar Logo, he goes to fullback. Will Warbrick stays on the wing. That then brings Moses Leo into the centres. Jack Howarth also staying in the centres. It's still a really strong lineup. Like you can't fault it with Munster and Hughes, obviously, in the halves. Missing Katoa will be huge. We still wish him the best. He's making a very speedy recovery. I saw. We look forward to having him back next year. That's the plan. But yeah, still send our love to him. There is a few changes, but overall, a really really good, strong side that they gel really well together. But I will say I'm really excited to see what Parramatta can do. Isaiah Youngie playing fullback, Jonah Peasant and Mitch Moses. I think that'll be an awesome combo. I'm really excited to see what happens there. That'll be so much fun to watch. I feel like those two will unlock each other and both being so good halves. And yeah, that's what I've got there. The Warriors versus Roosters game. I reckon the Roosters are going to win. I think DCE is going to cook up in the halves with Sam Walker. It'll be pretty cool to watch. Tanner Boyd's still playing halfback at the Wars. Channel Harris Tavita actually moves to 5'8", which is really interesting. I just think Luke Metcalf, he's so good. Not having him against a strong team like the Roosters, it's going to be a very hard game, and I just can't back him with all these changes. Yeah. But who knows? But yeah, I'm picking the Roosters on this one. Broncos versus Panthers. I'm picking the Panthers here. They don't have a lot of unchanged stuff. Well, not really any, if any, changes to their lineup this season. So they've had they get to stay together, which is really cool. They'll want to start off strong, firing, unlike they did last season. They really want to grab it by the scruff. Having the Broncos first up, obviously a very tough lineup, them being the grand final winners last year, knocking them out in the finals. Penrith, I think, will be hungry. I'm tipping them. Also for the fact that the Broncos did lose to Hull KR in the World Cup Challenge. Does that actually mean anything? I don't know. But I just think Penrith will come out firing. I think there's a few underlying things happening at the Broncos that I guess could be hurting him, especially with Payne Haas, Hakeem Haas. Let's just see this space. Let's see how the Broncos play together, and what happens there. But I think Penrith they'll kind of hit flow state now. Sharks versus Titans. I've actually gone bold choice here. The Titans. Look, AJ Brimson playing in the halves. He's playing 5'8". Lockie Ilias is playing halfback due to what's his name? Jaden Campbell. There we go. Got it. Jaden Campbell, minor, I think it's a calf injury or a hamstring injury. Expected to miss maybe a round or two. He's not playing. That's obviously, a bit sad for Jaden Campbell. Was really looking forward to seeing that. But in saying that, I'm really excited to see what Lockie Ilias can do here with AJ Brimson at the Titans. Let's see what Josh Hannay has produced there. It's looking like a whole culture change, so I'm very excited, and I think that's the reason why they can beat the Sharks this weekend. Let's go Manly versus Canberra, the Raiders. We know who I'm picking here. Canberra all the way. We're going to dive into it a little bit more. Jamal Fogarty, he's got a big task. He's playing for Manly as their halfback. I don't know. I'm excited for it. We've got a really good lineup. I'm going to dive into that. I'm not going to dive too much now. But let's see if Jamal really uses inside knowledge, or if against the Raiders like to show their weaknesses. But in the off season, stuff can change. So maybe we don't have the weaknesses that Jamal once saw when he was there. I'm really excited for this game, and we'll dive into that in a second. The last game of the round, Dolphins versus the Bunnies. This will be the game of the weekend, 100%. I don't want anyone else to tell me I am picking the Dolphins. They're having more time to grow. Like, they're still the youngest team in the comp. The Bunnies are one of the oldest teams in the comp. They are deadly with the lineup they have, and if they all stay injury-free, like Cody Walker being back, Jai Gray, Jackie Boy, Latrell, David Fafita, huge win for the club there, having him. Still having Keon Kolomatangi. I think I got that right. And then, obviously, it's really interesting. And I also think, I just think the Dolphins, they're going to be real deadly, especially with the pairing of Herbie Farnworth and Selwyn Cobbo. Absolutely speed and power experience right there. They both played at Broncos together. Like, I just kind of thought of that. They would have played at the Broncos together, experience together. That's going to be an awesome lineup. Like, just those two alone, that side will be, I think it's the left side, will be absolutely exploding with those two. I didn't even really think about that. I'm just excited to see what they can do. The Hammer's back from injury. How he ended last season, obviously injured. But yeah, really exciting. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm back on the Dolphins there. Now, what's really interesting is the 6-man bench that we now have. So how it works is you don't technically have an emergency player to start off. You can use 4 players in their interchanges. This is just, I'm running with this so I can give you guys a bit of an explanation. So usually on a bench you have 4 forwards, or 3 forwards and a utility that's primarily a forward but can play centres, like Simi Sasangi as an example. Now you've got 6. Any 6 can be utilised until 4 interchanges are made. Once the first 4 interchanges are made, they're the 4 players that you're allowed to sub on and off the bench. Then the 2 that are left, they become injury replacements, like your 18th emergencies, like your 18th and 19th man, which is what we're seeing. So it's going to be really interesting because obviously if you have a half or a back, an outside back that becomes injured, and because now that 18th, 19th spot is probably going to be filled with players that are backline players. If they get injured early on the game, bang, you've got to sub straight away. But if not, you can just use your forwards that, like, traditionally use your forwards and your utilities. And then when there is, say, a HIA, head concussion, whatever, and player gets sent off, you've got those players as backup for later. Let's dive in to what I want to call the bottom of the milk carton. I think I'm going to bring this on every week and talk about the Raiders. Give them a little segment, 5 or so minutes. Let's deep dive into what we've got this weekend. I've got a few notes, what our team's done, what Ricky has done, and yeah. So I want to kick off with who's not playing. So Matthew Tomoko, he's not playing. He's on that emergency bench. I think he's like the 22nd man. Apparently he's picked up a bit of an injury. So I'm sad that he's not playing, but it's all right. It's round one. Simi Sasangi, he'll start in the centres. Obviously, we know Simi Sasangi can be such a great versatile player, and he's got speed. He's got everything going for him. So happy for that change to happen. The big one that I am sad with, but after Ricky explained it, I completely understand. We don't have Owen Paddy. No Owen Paddy coming off the bench. Ricky's explanation is, this is a bit sad because Owen Paddy he didn't miss a game last season, even though he only played a few minutes, like 20 minutes average on each game. He didn't miss a game. He played in every single game. And this season he's missing out on round one. I find that's a bit sad, but Ricky has done it to develop his game more. He said that Owen Paddy is the future of the club, and him only playing 21 minutes off the bench won't help him grow as a hooker. So he might become almost an 80-minute hooker for New South Wales Cup. That's all we could see. So I'll probably be watching more New South Wales Cup this season now, with that noted. We know how much I love Owen Paddy. He's been on the podcast. We had him on a podcast. He was one of the first. I think he was the first in the 8 and 80 challenge. He was epic to have on. So I feel for him, but I know he's going to have an excellent season, and this is just to grow his game more. Because he's the future of the club, and Ricky knows that. So Jaden Brayley, he's coming off the bench. Tom Starling's our starting hooker. Xavier Savage, back after he had that injury at the end of the season, which stopped him from playing finals, which was a bit sad. Hopefully that man, he's got a bit more strength, because we know how good he is on his attack, and little bit lousy in defence sometimes, but it's also when he attacks, he can get driven back a lot. So let's see what strength he's built up. I'm really excited to see his game, because he's just a really good winger. No Matty Muffins. Matty Nicholson, he won't be playing. He is, I think, 20th man, maybe 21st man. On Paddy's 20th man, I think. So if anything does happen, those guys will be brought up. Got this in bold in my notes. Operation ES Squared is a go. And I'm so excited. There was rumours. If you know what ES Squared is, it doesn't take too much knowledge to know what ES Squared is, but it's Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders, their initials being ES, and two of them because, 2 squared is 2 times 2. It's Ethan Sanders, ES times ES squared. Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders. Awesome combo. So excited for this. It's a go. Operation ES Squared is a go. There were little rumours here and there that Dane Laurie will be playing as halfback. And I was going, maybe, because he had some incredible, he played that incredible first trial match at halfback, which was awesome. But I'm really excited to see the combination of Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders. It's going to be so cool. I am marketing, that's copyrighted trademark ES Squared. So, but yeah, they're going to be a dangerous pairing together. Ricky's obviously got so much confidence in those two. He reckons Ethan Strange will be the next 5'8" for New South Wales. So he's obviously got good raps for he's going to go incredible. Papali, our boy, he's still starting. None of this coming off the bench stuff for Papali. He's wearing that number 8 jersey. Good to see. Noel Martin is actually starting on the bench as well as starting on the field alongside with Corey Horsburgh. Awesome. Bit of fresh face in Noel Martin. We've seen him play how good he can be. And yeah, he's shoved off Matty Nicholson's spot, which is a little bit surprising, but nonetheless, interesting. And then Dane Laurie and Jed Stewart, 18th and 19th man on the bench. So if we do see an outside back go down, we've got the players to fill with the new bench rules. So that's what I've got for the bottom of the milk carton. Get it? Because we're going to deep, because like you go deep with the milk, you got to go all the way down. So yeah. Okay. We're at 30 minutes. That's pretty good. Let's finish off with the state titles, the surf life saving state titles that are. They ran all over the country: Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, etc., etc. It was a senior state titles for those that are wondering. I don't want to touch on the results. Like everyone who wants to look at the results, have a look at live heats. Like I can quickly rattle off the Queensland state titles. The board races, Bevy and Hannah Scully took them out. The swims, CJ Brennan, Naomi Scott. The board race, we already did board ski races, Claudia Kelly and I think it was Tom Green. I think Tom Green got it over Riley Fitz. Can't remember that properly. Should have probably had a look. Ski swim board. Yep, done it. Irons, Carla Papak, and Zach Morris. That was your individual events. Northcliffe took out 1 and 2 in the 6-person male Taplin. Took out the girls Taplin as well. I think it was the B team actually, or the B team or C team. And then the Alex boys rounded out the podium. And that's all the results I can remember off the top of my head for the Opens. But that's besides the point. I don't really want to touch on that. I want to touch on one thing in particular, and it's nothing to do with Queensland state titles. Well, it kind of is, but nothing to do with New South Wales titles. It will in a second when I bring it all back. It's Life Saving South Australia. They did an insane job, like all weekend. Like when I came home from racing, I would look on my phone and I'd see, oh yeah, states, and I go, oh, Surf Life Saving Australia. Geez, they're pumping out sick content here of like people winning races, like they captured what states should look like and what it should mean to everyone. I don't know if it's just a Queensland thing or even if it's just a me thing, but I don't think there's enough emotion like around states or meaning at it anymore. Because honestly, like when I was younger and under 11s to 13s, states was the pinnacle because you had no Aussies, and you were like, yes, I want to like states at the top of the game. That's like the best of the best. That was your grand finale for the season. And then when I got older, I kind of started caring less and less about states, and it got cancelled a few times. So I guess it kind of lost a bit of meaning. I don't know if it's just me or everyone else like feels like that. At least in Queensland, I feel like a few people feel like that. But Surf Life Saving South Australia captured like how I want the states to be, like how it should feel. Like it shouldn't feel like a normal carnival. It should be more like the Opens men board race. I don't know who won. I forgot the name, but I was watching the reel when I came home, like after states, and like he won the board race and he was crying. It was so special. Like, and Ten Talk commented on it, and they said like this shows that the game's something like the game's not gone. If you see this, like clearly the game's not gone, and that is so emotional. Aiden Carberry winning the Open Taplin, like Open Men's Taplin for West Beach, and how they were just so pumped. Like to hear one of the boys go, that's one of the best paddle I've ever seen at a Taplin. It just was so emotional, just like so much aura around it. Like, and I'm not using that as like just as a term, but I mean like just so much raw emotion, and it was so cool. It was like the South Australia titles meant so much more to these guys to what Aussies can sometimes mean to some people. Like they had so much emotion about it, and I'm like, man, if we could bring that to like, and I don't know if it's the fact that like a lot of athletes move from interstate to Queensland and it's not their own state. Like it's like South Australia would purely be just South Australians racing. Like, and then Queensland's like, oh yeah, these guys are at Northcliffe now, but they were at New South Wales, or these guys are at Alex, they came from Victoria. Like, but it was just like absolute scenes. But like I would love for states to mean that much, like, and it should mean that much. but I feel like it doesn't. And I don't know if there's something we can do to make it feel like that. I think it's on the athletes that go, yeah, states is really important and it means a lot, and winning a state title is something very special. Like, yeah, like I guess what it used to mean. But that's my thoughts. Aussie is the only thing left. We have, when this drops, it'll be exactly 3 days, not 3 days, 3 weeks till we kick off senior Aussies. 21 days till we start. I'm excited. It's if you haven't done the work now, you won't ever do the work for it. For a lot, it's just sharpening those skills, getting ready for it. Not a lot of time to do hard work for it, but nonetheless, super excited for Aussies. I know all the clubby heads, you all are as well. Clubbies, I'm sorry if you're watching this and going, and you sat through all this NRL talk, and now you're only just getting a little bit of clubbies talk. It's worth. I hope it was worth it. And if you weren't interested in NRL, I hope you are now. Come chat to me about it on the beach. But yeah. This is episode 63 of the Pulse Check, of What's Not Sports. It's a Pulse Check episode. Thanks for joining me. If that's What's Not Sports, catch you in the next episode.